What's going on, YouTube? This is Daniel Rucker with True Table. Welcome to the table. I wanted to jump on today and just touch on something real brief, real quick. I know I'm going to have to expound upon this particular topic, but while I got a little sunlight left, just a quick broadcast, just a touchdown, just to stay committed to what I said I was going to do, broadcast today. So without further ado, let me go ahead and hop into the kitchen because, we get cooking over here. One of the things that I've noticed, and forgive me, I had to switch up today, moving my vehicle around and some other components. But like I said, stay committed to what I said I was going to do. So bear with me. I'm trying to keep the camera straight while I'm doing this broadcast. But anyway, so one of the things I noticed and why it is so difficult to try to find a happy medium or a place of honesty, a middle ground to have conversations relative to relationships, is that you got a lot of women, and yes, I'm picking on women today. I'm choosing violence, as my boy Anton Daniels says. I like that, by the way. Shout out to Anton. You guys go check out his content. Good brother. Anyway, one of the things I notice is that what's so difficult sometimes as a man trying to have a conversation with a woman relative to relationships and things of that nature is that by nature, I believe women like to argue. And I think that sometimes it doesn't even matter about who may be right or who may be wrong. But I think just to be able to derail a man's progress to his point, or just being able to say things that may derail his building argument. And what do I mean by this? What I mean by this is things that you use as a point of reference that aren't housed in data, statistics, or analytics, like your anecdotal experience, like your isolated experience. Like one thing I've noticed that females like to do is when you start speaking in general terms, they'll talk about their aunt that lives in Wichita, Kansas. This is one person out of the 7 billion people on the planet that this doesn't particularly pertain to. And because it's not an absolute, now they feel that they can build an argument on just that point. Ladies, that crap right there is a very antagonistic, very immature, and it screams lack of development. And why can I say that? Daniel, you're not a doctor. How can you diagnose the behavior? How can you say, as the young man you are, that these are all of these things without you holding a medical degree or some type of psychological practice, psychology practice or things of that nature? Well, I'm gonna tell you why. One of the things that I like to do is when I observe human behavior, I like to take it all the way back to the origin of when we first start in our development as children. And one of the things that most people can collectively agree with is that when you're interacting with a little girl, they tend to have this antagonistic temperament. And I don't care what little girl you interact with. Most of them have this antagonistic temperament. The nah, 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 the I'm gonna tell, the ooh, you're not supposed to do that, right? And what I've noticed is that behavior, if unchecked, if gone unchecked, if gone unattended to, grows into the very mind and development of most women today, 20s, 30s, and even up to their 40s. Because to try to have an adult-like conversation where you may have an opposing, perspective, you have an opposing viewpoint, in common respect and common practice, you allow for the person to pose their disagreement, to pose their viewpoint on it, and then you try to find a way that either you guys could agree or agree to disagree and leave it as is. Because nobody's going to die over the information that's being shared. Nobody's going to be harmed, I believe, if the opinions just don't align, they don't match. So what does it gain you, ladies, to take the position that maybe you may be the exception to the rule, or maybe your friends may be the exception to the rule, or maybe the 5 people may be the exception to the rule? Because when you really try to weigh it as a collective, you're minute in the whole sphere that is humanity. If you were to weigh it from a numerical place, your experience does not overthrow what is consistently happening to people over and over again from a global perspective. And see, this is one of the things that I've noticed, that when you try to have a conversation and try to actually gain some ground, if she doesn't like what you said, or if what you're saying is too close to home, it is a tactic to try to combat your argument, but from a very small, immature, antagonistic place. Because see, what I like to see, ladies, is when you are fully developed as the woman that you claim to be, when it's something that you disagree with or something that you don't understand, you use words like, well, explain how you got to that, point, or explain how you came to that conclusion, sir. I don't necessarily agree with you, but I'm curious. I want to know more. See, these are terms that when you are, 1, not insecure, 2, mature, and 3, developed, it's a lot easier to have conversations even with someone who doesn't necessarily see your point of view or doesn't agree with the way you see it, or may even be talking about your house, your mess, your life, indirectly or directly. Because at the end of the day, we have to create an environment to where we can communicate as, man to woman people. And if we're going to gain some level of progress and solidarity, a lot of people will be like, well, everyone's talking about the problem, but what's the solution? Well, one of the solutions I will tell you today before I end this broadcast is that I think women really need to start doing self-checks and analyzing the true range of where their development lies. I think they need to do an honest assessment of how they think, how the people that they kick it with think, and then how you can get confirmation on if you are accurate in your depiction. You got to talk to men. Not boys, men. And men are easy to identify because men are going to be the one that's going to tell you things that's going to make you have to think. They're going to tell you things that's going to make you have to go back to the drawing board or reconsider or look at it from a different vantage point. And see, that's what I believe is one of the solutions, ladies. If you want to see progress in your life, in your romantic world, then I believe, so that's where I think we need to start. I think we really need to get busy in having women start to do the one thing that is very difficult for most of them to do. You want to know what it is? Do you want to know what it is? It's accountability. That's right. The A word. The A word. Accountability. As an adult, this is one of the key characteristics of all people's development. Absolutely necessary to be your best self. So, I just wanted to touch on that quickly today. This was somewhat of a scattered topic. I think it's a relevant topic. I believe it's something that I have to expound upon, something I'm going to add into my videos, my installments, because as I'm adding content to, this region of YouTube, I want there to be thoughts provoked. I want there to be perspective added. I want there to be different viewpoints. And that's what I'm doing it for. So, thank you for hanging out with me for a few minutes. Go ahead and go ahead and subscribe. And I will be back in here tomorrow with some new content, with some fresh stuff, serving up these meals. And yeah, this is Daniel Rucker signing out. Y'all have a good one.